Okay, here we have lesson 5 of unit 1, and that's solving systems of linear equations graphically. So we're going to graph them, and basically to solve, it's the point of intersection is what we're solving for. So to demonstrate this, we're going to use an example, and it says you are offered a job as a courier that will pay you in one of two ways, and then you have these two options. Now, in our last lesson, we learned how to graph using the slope-intercept method, where we used y equals mx plus b. So you can think of x as your input, and y as your output. Okay? And here they give us the two options. They say a base wage of $140 a week plus $2 per delivery. So when you're reading all these options here, you want to figure out what's my B and what's my M, or my slope. So B is a fixed amount, so no matter what, if you made no deliveries, you're still going to make $140. So that would be my B. It's a fixed amount. There's B. Now your slope, you're going to know if it's always a per, usually per like kilometers per liter, or some sort of amount. It's a rate. So we know that this is our slope. And it's always written in your y per x amount. So this is written, we got dollars per delivery. Or change in y over the change in x. That's, you know, your rise over run. So when you look at in the question, and if you're not sure what x and y is, if you look at the slope, your y is first and your x is second when it's written, amount per whatever amount it might be. So that's for option 1. Our B is 140 and our M, or our slope, is $2. And for option 2, our B is 100 and our slope is $3 per delivery. And then here it says you can expect to make 25 to 60 deliveries. Which option is better? Does a situation exist in which it would not matter which option you choose, so where they are equal? So the first thing you need to do is take this and change it into an equation, and we've kind of already done that work. So we have equations. We got equation 1, which is going to be, we'll call it y1 equals our slope 2x plus 140, and our second equation is y2 equals our slope 3x plus 100. Okay, and now we're going to graph these two equations. We know that our x is deliveries by here. Our x is deliveries, so we're going to have number of deliveries here. And what would we have here? It's number of deliveries. What's y going to equal? What's a word we could use for y? You add your base amount plus your deliveries. What would that be when you get your paycheck? Sorry? Yeah, which is what's a word we call that? Some, yeah, but we can go more general than that. Gross what? Income, yeah. Income or wage, I guess. And that'll be in dollars. And what do we have to do when we do our number, our scale? What's the one thing we have to remember to do? Can I go 2, 6, 7, 10? Yeah, you have to, each square's got to be worth the same amount, right? So I'm just going to go by 5s. Okay, so I went, like, you could have just numbered every other one as well. Now, for my income, it starts, the lowest I can make is $100, right? Because that's the lowest base wage. Now, we can break this line so that we don't have all our numbers squished together. But if we break that line, we want to show a little break in our graph, like a little zigzag. And I'm going to go hundreds and then 25s. Now, does yours have to be like that? No. You just need to be consistent. But I just know that's going to make a nice graph, so I'm going to do that. So I'm going to start at 100 and then I'm going to go up by 25s. Okay, so now how am I going to graph this?
Start at your y-intercept.
Yeah, we got 140. So I'll guesstimate it to be about just below 150, right? Just kind of, so I'll put it there. Okay, then what?
Use your slope.
We could, but the problem with the slope is we move, one square is 5, and then the other squares are 25.
Oh.
So just, it gets a little messy. What's another way we could do that? How could I find another point on the line? What if I said x was equal to 30? Could I find out what y is? And then I could just plot that. And then I have 2 points and I could draw my line. Well, it just makes it a little bit easier when you're dealing with this situation. So I'm just going to make my x equal to 30. And I'm going to solve it for each equation. So y1 is going to equal 2 times 30 plus 140, and that equals 200. And then my y2, I'll just do the same. 3 times 30 plus 100 equals 190. I just have those points. But I'm gonna draw y1 first. So 30 and 200. Okay, So I'm going to draw that line. Okay. I'm going to label it y1 equals 2x plus 140. And I know which one that is. Okay. Now I can plot the y2. So I'd start at 100. There's 100. And then I have 3190, which is just below here. And then I'm going to draw that line. So, which job's better? Depends, yeah.
How many deliveries you expect?
Right. So when is the first option better? From how many deliveries to how many deliveries?
40.
Up to 40, yeah. So right here, from here to here, because option 1 is greater than, right, it's above. Option 2, the option 1 is better. We'll say y1 is better. But when you get past 40, which option's better? 2. Because now 2 is greater than. Yeah. So this is when, I'm not very good at making those brackets, am I? Like 2 is better. What about rate at 40 deliveries? It's right here. Which one's better? They're the same. Yeah, that's the point of intersection. So, when x equals 40, they are the same. How much is that? It's not right on the line, so we don't know. How could we find out what exactly it is? We know x 40 deliveries. How can I find out my income? Exactly, like, because this is kind of, well, I don't know. I'm guessing 220. Hmm? You could just put it in the equation, yeah. These two equations and find the answer. So I'm just going to do that here. So y1, when x is equal to 40 deliveries, how much do you earn? $220. And then y2, how much do you earn? Same. Because that is when they are the same. Because that's where the lines cross. So right where the lines cross is when they're equal to each other. So when x is 40, y is equal to 220, and that's the income is the same. So the income is the same if you make 40 deliveries. Is there any questions on that? So what we're going to be doing is we're going to always be trying to find that point of intersection. It'll solve problems when we get to more problem-based. Like this was kind of a problem, but okay, it'll solve problems that you need to find what x and y should be when you have these constraints put on it, or these equations. When are they equal to each other? Where is that intersection point? Okay, there are other ways to solve for it other than graphing, but we're just going to do graphing in this course. So we will try putting this in your graphing calculator so you can see what it looks like. So the thing with the graphing calculator is you got to think of what your window will be, like how big you need the graph to be. Okay, so you kind of have to know the situation that you're dealing with, and we already graphed it, so we know, you know, we need income up to 300 or so, that kind of thing. So we're gonna just turn on your calculator. Mine's gonna say my battery's low. You guys see that? Okay. And notice there's a button that says window. Okay. So if you push that, you see there's an X max min scale and then a Y min max. So we have to set that. So on our graph, what did we put for X? Like up to what? We could go up to 100, that would be fine, right? 0 to 100. So we went between 0 and 100, right? So what you would put in here, I'm just going to write it out here so you have it. Your X min, we're not dealing with negative numbers, so we can put 0. Your X max, we can go up to 100. It's okay to go a little more than what is needed. The scale, you don't have to change that, but if you, what scale did I use? 5s. So you could put that in. You don't have to, it'll still work without it. And then your Y min, again, we're only dealing with positive numbers, so we can put 0. Our Y max, what income, we could go up to 300, the graph, or if you want to do a little more, you could. We'll put 300. And then the Y scale, we could put 25. And the resolution, you don't need to worry about that. You can just leave it as 1. So you just put that in. So all you do is we got 0 already, and you can just use the arrow keys or the enter key. Will take you down to the next one. So I want this to be 100. Enter 5, or I could use the arrow key if I want. 300, 25. Now yours might have been different than mine to start with, but has everybody got that in their calculator? So you want that. Does that make sense? Like X minimum, maximum, Y minimum. Okay. So we got our window set. 2, we want to put our equations in. I'm just writing out the steps so you have them. The calculator is not as intuitive as the iPad, so you want to put the equations in, and that'll be in the y equals mx plus b. It actually doesn't need to be y equals. You can kind of have the equation whatever as long as it's y equals. And notice there's a y equals button. This is the Windows button too. And then you would just put in your equation. So if we hit here, oh man, look at the equation I got in there, something crazy. Okay, just clear it. So you want to put in our first equation. You're going to put in 2, and the x button is this xt theta n. It has all these xt theta n. I'll just do that so you know what the X button is. And then you just put plus 140. So you do 2x plus 140. And you get the equation in there. And glare on there is not good. And then we have a second equation. You can hit enter or down key. There's 3x plus 100. So you want it in y1 and y2. So you put those equations in. Does everybody have those in there? Okay, and then you're gonna, step number 3 is you're gonna press the graph button. Which is that top there. Hit graph. And it graphs your lines for you. So you have a graph. Hopefully they'll look something like that. Yeah? Did we got that? Hmm? Oh, I put this in. Yeah. That's this button here. It's Theta. I don't know why they just have an X button. And then there's an N there as well. So wait till everybody has those equations in and graphed.
Yeah.
Is yours working? Some sort of plot. It'll take me a while to figure that one out. Okay. And now you need both lines on there. We're going to find the intersection. So we're going to find the intersection. And if you notice, just above the trace button, there's calc. And that calc has a whole bunch of things you can calculate on the graph, like intersection, intercepts, that sort of thing. But it's in yellow. So you have to hit second function trace, that gives you the calc function. Did you get it to work?
It doesn't put the two lines up, but when I ask it to find the intersection, it does.
Okay. I'd like you to see the two lines. Okay. So you're going to do second function, which is a button on the calculator, and then you're going to hit trace. But what you're actually doing when you do that is you're getting the calc. And then number 5, when you do that, is called intersection. Or intersect, I guess it's called. So if you do second function calc, number 5 is intersect. So we want number 5. You can either push number 5 or highlight it with the arrow keys. It doesn't matter. So if you push 5, it'll ask for intersection. But then it asks you, as a question mark, first curve. So like, what line do you want to use? Because you could have 5 lines in there if you want. So it's just, what line do you want to use? So we only have 2 in there, so it doesn't matter. First curve, just hit enter if it's highlighting the line you want. If not, use the arrow keys. And then second curve, again, just hit enter. And then it asks you to guess. I don't know why. Okay, guess. It's the way it was designed. Just hit enter. And then it'll give you an answer, which will be the one we already calculated. So enter, second curve, yep, that's the one I want. Enter, guess, okay, whatever, I already know what it is. And then we get the 40, 220. X is 40, Y is 220. So that is how you do it on there. Okay, so iPad, they are powered down, I think. So you have to press this button up right here and hold it down till you get something happening. You get the little bitten apple. Is there any questions on that graphing calculator? Other than we'll have to get yours to show 2 lines. Okay, and you know to like slide, does everybody know how to turn on the iPad? Slide that on. You just get the iPad on. Okay, and I will just try and get this under here. I have to change the settings though. Okay. Alright. So on the iPad there is this Good Grapher. If you scroll, like you just swipe over, you should be able to find that. Has everybody found that? So just tap on that. Now this is a graphing calculator on the iPad. So you can do calculator functions. But it also has the graphing part if you push the little 3 buttons at the top there. And we would want 2D grapher. Okay, so everybody get into 2D grapher. That one's set different. Okay. You guys have already played with it a bit there. You can change the scale, you can move it around. That's what's nice about it. Okay. So we'll put in those graphs. So how you do that is with this little list here. I don't know if you can see that list. Is everybody there? So you got the list. Are you two there? Or are you just playing with it? You need the list. It doesn't matter where it's at the moment. We'll get there. So you need the list. And you want to add a graph. So list. Add a graph. Just add. And we want y equals for most part. You can do x equals 2 in this graph, which you can't do on the graphing calculator. Okay? So we're going to do y equals, and then it takes you back to this part of the calculator, and you enter in your equation, and we had 2, and then there's the x button, right? Plus 140. Okay? And then you just hit save, and it takes you back and graphs it. Has everybody got the one line in? Use 2x plus 40 and then hit save. Yep. Plus 140. Okay, now we'll put the other equation in. Just same thing. Hit the list. Add. We want x equals. And then we got 3x plus 100. Save. It puts them both in there. Right now I can't see my intersection. But. Okay. Has everybody got the two lines in there? Yeah. Got some lines in there. You already got some over. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So you can just change the scale by doing that, right? Moving it over. Now, these buttons here give you different points on the graph. The first one gives you a maximum or minimum, which we're not going to use right now. We'll use it later. The second one gives you the intercepts, so that'll tell you your y and x intercepts. And then the third one is your intersection, which is the one we want. So if you push on intersection there, it highlights it, and then if you tap on the dot, it tells you what it is. So it tells it's 40 and 220. Okay? Good? We know how to use it? Alright. Don't really have to take notes on that one. It's fairly easy. Alright. So, let's try these on the back here. Okay, here we want to find the intersection points of these two equations. And whenever we do this, in order to put it into the calculator or the iPad, we have to get it into y equals mx plus b. It doesn't necessarily have to be in this form, but we need y equals. So we have to have this y equals. And then we can put it in the calculator or the iPad. Now, this first one is already done for us, so we don't have to manipulate anything. The second one we need to get y by itself. So the first thing we can do in order to move, we can move x to the other side, so we can minus 2x, and that would give me 3y equals, and I'll just write my 2x, negative 2x plus 22, just to put it in that format. and then I have to divide by 3. So divide each of these by 3. 3 does not go into any of those evenly. It's best to leave it as a fraction, that way it's more accurate in your calculator or in the iPad. So we'll rewrite the equation. And that's how we can put it into the calculator. So we'll try putting it in the calculator. So here's my calculator. And I need to put in my equations. So I'm going to hit the y equals button. First I want to set my window to standard though. So remember, our first step is set window. Usually when you're just given equations and not in a problem, you want to have it in the standard format. So standard format. Which we can get by pressing the button zoom. And then number 6 says standard. Oops, let me put this down here. So we want it in the standard format, and zoom 6 will give it to us. So if I bring my calculator back up, if I hit zoom, and there is 6, Z standard it says. So we just want number 6. And that gives me a clear graph. Okay, so we've set our window. And now I need to put my equations in. So in my y equals, my y1 equals, I can put in 5. Remember that button, xt theta minus 4. And then my y2 will be this equation. Make sure you use a negative sign, which is the negative in brackets. Your calculator does not like using a minus sign for a negative. And then it would be divide. Gives you a fraction bar. 3, your X button. And then plus 22 divide 3. So we'll just put those equations in. So here we have first equation is 5x minus 4. Make sure you use the minus sign, not the negative sign, minus 4. And then the next equation is negative, make sure you use this button down here, negative 2. The negative signs look smaller. Thirds x plus 22 divided by 3. And then we have that one entered. And then we'll look at the graph. And there's our graph. So 1, we set the window. 2, we put our equations in. 3, we graph. And then 4, we'll find the intersection, which is second function, trace, which gives you the calc. And we want number 5. That's our intersect. And then you're going to have to hit enter, enter, enter. First curve, second curve, and then it asks you to guess. that will give us our intersection. So if I do that, trace, oh, never mind, second function, trace, number 5, first curve, yeah, that's the one I want. And notice it tells you the curve here. Yes, I want that one. You say, yes, I want that one. Second curve, yep, that's the one I want. And then it asks you to guess. And then it calculates, and the intersection is 2 and 6. We can write it as ordered pairs. This is my x, this is my y. And that's how you can solve using the calculator. You can also put it in the iPad and touch the intersection point. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. So here we have to get our equations into the y equals format. So if we look at the first one here, we have 2x plus 3y equals 6. So here we can minus our 2x, and then we get 3y equals negative 2x plus 6. Then we need to divide by 3. So that we get 1y, so y equals negative 2/3 x, and then 6 divided by 3 is 2, plus 2. So that 6 divided by 3 equals 2. And then if we do the same over here, here's our equation. Why did I put a minus there? Okay, so we got 2x plus 3y equals negative 4. We need to move our x, minus 2x, minus 2x. 3y equals negative 2x minus 4. And then we need to divide by 3. And we get y equals negative 2x divided by 3 minus 4/3. And then we're going to graph those. So if I put those in my calculator, what is it going to look like? So negative 2/3 x plus 2. Oh, and then I'll go up and do the other one. And then we have negative 2/3 x minus, choose minus sign, minus 4 divided by 3. In right, graph. What do we notice about those lines? If we look at the slope, notice the slope is the same. So, and when we graph it, we have parallel lines. So the slope is the same. The slope is the same. So it's parallel lines. This is what we call an inconsistent system. And if the lines are parallel, they will never cross. So there is no point of intersection. We can't find it because there is none. So the lines will never cross. Okay, so we'll look at the last example now. Notice that this equation's already y equals, so we just need to solve for this one. We have 4x minus 2y equals 2. So we're going to move our 4x over. And here I get negative 2y equals negative 4x plus 2. And now I got to divide by 2, negative 2. I want this to be positive, so I got to divide by negative, so this ends up being 1. And then I divide this by negative 2, so then I get y equals negative 4 divided by negative 2 is positive 2x. So this ends up being positive. And then 2 divided by negative 2 would be negative 1. See that? Notice what we have here. It's the same. It's the same line. It's the same line. So if we graphed it, we'd be just graphing the same line over top of the same line. So all the points meet. Because there's just one line on top of the other. And this is what we call a dependent system. Just give them special names. So it's the same line, all the points meet. You can graph it, but you're just going to have one line on top of the other. So you can complete the assignment on page 22 of your practice assignment booklet.